My friend, it is always an honor to have a chance to speak with you, not only because you're an amazing person, but because of the impact that you have given us in the Canadian music industry. Before I get into what we're going to talk about, how's that gorgeous wife of yours and those extremely talented kids of yours? How are they all doing?
Very well. Everybody's really fantastic.
Good to
So,
hear. I was just gonna, I'm wondering, did anybody ever come to you guys about a reality show? Because at the time when people were all looking for, family music people, I asked this to Chantal Kreviazek once, and she actually said that somebody had asked her, but they turned it down. Did anybody ever ask you guys? And if they did, would you have done it?
oh God, I don't know. Maybe. You know, Zoe's just had a baby like a year ago, and they've moved back to Canada, and they're living with us till the end of the month till they move into their place. And so we have I have my first grandchild here in the house, and she's beautiful, and it's such it is like a reality show.
I'm not surprised. When you think back at your career, did you ever think that it would blossom the way it did, right down to the Hall of Fame for Canadian songwriters?
I I never really thought about it in those terms. I got to tell you, Rudy. And I just I knew I loved and had to write songs. And so I just all I thought about, I never thought about the end game really. All I thought about was immediately in front of me writing the best songs I could and hopefully I would get to go out and play them and but I never really thought about it too many years ahead, you know?
Well, we're glad that you did because now we get to learn more about it. You finally put pen to paper on this. Finally, a book on your career.
Yeah, but
Why
I
did you?
didn't do it, Rudy.
What do you mean you didn't do it?
It was written by Don Brightup.
Okay, that's fine,
Yeah,
but it's still your story.
yes.
How did this all come about?
Well, Don, I've known Don for years, and he did an amazing biography on Steely Dan and Donald Fagen. I think he did two of them. And they authorized him to do it, and which is amazing because they didn't authorize anybody.
Hmm.
They're very well. Uh, Walter's dead now, but Donald he's a tough guy to you know get around, and so anyway, Don did it, and it was really well received, and so we were up at my cottage. And I was, and he said, well, why? He said, well, why don't you do your story? And I said, well, I couldn't do it because I'm dyslexic. And I actually could not, I would never do it. And so he said, well, why don't I take a shot at it? And I said, go ahead. And we sat, uh, we did about 5 sessions that summer up north on my dock and talked, and I just talked about my life, in the business and the relationships I had and the problems I had and the great things that happened to me and the not so great and you know stuff like that. And then he went away and came back with a book, and we messed with it a bit, and then it was done.
Sounds like you were happy with the end result, were you? Because were you worried about maybe this wouldn't reflect the way you wanted it to?
Well, I trusted Dawn.
Hmm.
because he's a songwriter himself. He's a musician. He's toured. He's been in all phases of the business. And so if you're going to trust anybody, you trust a guy like him. And so I did trust him, and I tried to keep up with it as it was going, as he was writing it, but I fell behind because I don't read. I'm I I'm horribly dyslexic, and I read a couple of pages, and I'm like crazy.
Nah, not crazy. Reality. That's what I look at it as. Reality.
Yeah,
But is there something that because like I said, I can say I've known you for decades. I can say that, which is an
yeah,
honor. Um, are there stories in there that would surprise me from the conversations that we've had?
yes.
Give me one.
You probably didn't know about my struggles with alcohol and drugs.
No, we never talked about that.
That's right.
Why
So,
was this the best platform to finally talk about that? And how did you feel about talking about that?
well, you either talk about your life or you don't.
True.
If you're going to do a book, if you only tell people the good stuff, they're not really getting the story, are they? So when I decided to do this, I had to think about it, but I decided to do it, and to do the biography. And when I decided that, I I had to do the whole thing. Because it is part of who I am, really. It's part of what brought me to where I am, for better or for worse.
What would you say is the happiest moment in the book?
When I met my wife, when I met Amy.
I've never asked you about that, how you two met.
Well, John Capek, my writing partner, who I met in Toronto at CBC, and we worked in Toronto, and then he moved to LA and before me, and then I moved to LA, and but he always kept in touch with Dan Hill. He worked a lot with Dan Hill and people like that, and Carol Pope, and um, so um, a bunch of us were down in LA. I mean, I was living there, but a bunch of other people were down there, and John had a barbecue one afternoon for Canadians, and so it was filled with Canadians, and Amy was passing through LA to work with John before she went back to Toronto. And I arrived, and I had briefly met her once before at the studio for like a minute. But I arrived, and I saw her across the backyard there, and she was wearing a 1950s dress, which was looked very good. And I was drawn to it because I, of course, wanted the dress because I love dressing up. But she looked very beautiful to me, and so I just went over and talked to her, and one thing led to another.
And how many years now? Married.
I've lost count. I don't know.
That's the best answer, man. That is the best answer. What do you hope fans will get from this book, your autobiography? What do you hope they will get from this?
If they're interested in the music business at a certain point in time,
Hmm.
I think I had a very unique um, window
Yeah.
because I was around some of the most incredible people in the business. I worked with them. I hung out with them, and I was there at a really amazing time.
Yeah.
And so it is. Look, Bertie, I'm people of my age are so that were in the business are so lucky just by virtue of when we were born that we grew up in this era. It was almost, yeah, I suspect in 100 years it'll be considered like a Renaissance period because it was so powerful the way music moved culture. You know, I always I I'm I've used this example before, but it always struck me, and more and recently it seems to be more powerful than ever. But that song that Neil Young wrote, "For Dead in Ohio," do you know that one?
I know it. I know it.
Well, cops were going in. Young people were protesting the Vietnam War
Mhm.
on campuses and in the streets, and cops were going in and killing them. You know, and Neil Young wrote a song about it. He wrote it, I believe, on a Friday night, and by Tuesday it was number one. And it changed the culture. It reinforced the the power of the individual over government. And there were things like that happened. There was the emergence of black music, which you never fucking heard in this country. I never heard it. Never heard it. It was like Perry Como when I was growing up. Perry Como. That's all I heard. And then my mom bought me a radio when I was 12. And it had a screw in the back for an antenna. And I took that, I put a wire on that screw for the antenna and ran it out my bedroom window and attached it to the drain pipe. So my entire house was an antenna. And for the first time in my life, if there was a storm in Cincinnati, I got the gospel hour in Louisiana. And I heard black choirs for the first time. I heard that for the first time, really. And it changed my life. I heard Sam Cooke, changed my life.
I wish kids knew the beauty of having a transistor radio and doing what you did because I'm the last of that generation that you're talking about. Before we go, what's going on with you guys in an art show? What's going on with this?
Well, I'm a painter as well.
I can see.
They're just in my studio. I'm getting them ready, but
Hmm.
um, we're doing this art. They wanted me to do an art show. So there's this big church in Rosedale on Glen Road, Rosedale United Church, and they have a big hall, and they invited me to put on an art show there because it's also a community place, and so I did. And then they asked if Amy would come and we'd do a little concert as well. So we decided to do both.
Bravo.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait for this. Before we go, wrap it up. I know you guys sporadically tour together. Is there anything going to be happening for 2026? Any other shows happening?
Well, I'm doing like 5 shows in June in Southern Ontario. I think it starts. I can't remember where it starts. It ends at the in London, Ontario, at what's that great theater there? The I can't remember the name of it, but
That's okay. People can look it up.
yeah, it's fantastic. And so there's 5 shows like in Southern Ontario. You can just Google it, and that's in June, and so that'll be fun.
It is always a pleasure and honor to speak with you. Give your wife a big hug for me. I'll do what I can to make it down there for the show. But again, thank you so much for doing the interview. Thank you so much for releasing this autobiography. But more importantly, thank you for your friendship and thank you so much for all the interviews we've done in the past. Always love and respect.
I appreciate it.